we are talking about education. And we have seen, as COVID has impacted our students, the need for us to be creative. You're going to hear from our team today, and we actually have today's this Zoom is being sponsored by Purdue Northwest, and we appreciate that. And Matt, thank you for your help and for Purdue Northwest partnership that we have around education. And I'll let Andrew talk a little bit more about how we're working with you. I just want to take a quick minute to go through and introduce our team that's on the call. We have a lot of them that'll be sharing. Alan Southerland is our Chief Pipeline Officer, helping us with our interns and fellows. Renee runs our student ministry, so after school, summer day camp, you'll hear from that. Diana Reed runs our early learning. We used to know it as daycare, but I've been told that that's not what I can say. It's early learning, and Diana does a great job. That's something that we opened a year ago, August. Tim Sturgis is our Chief Administrative Officer, started 5 weeks ago, so he knows everything, and any of your tough questions go to him. Valerie is the head of our school. We have how many students, Valerie, in our school?
We are right around 140.
Great. So K4 through 5th grade. Andrew Green's our assistant director, executive director, and he'll be leading a lot of the conversation today. Becca Kidd is our chief program officer and also our data. Here's the one thing: as we think of data, what Shepherd does is it intersects data with people, that relationships. We are data fueled, but we are driven by our relationships. Phil Edwards, our Chief Engagement Officer, he'll talk later about how you could, if you're interested in volunteering and helping. Kara Lee is on the team and works neighborhood engagement. Colton is our Development Officer. And we actually have folks who are actually doing something. We're not all on the Zoom, but this is a great team. And we appreciate, for us, we want to share with you this afternoon, talk about partnerships. Mario Marino in the book Leap of Reason says the great organizations are those that tackle issues bigger than themselves and partner with others to accomplish it. That's what we're trying to live out around each of these areas, and you're going to hear. And so Andrew has been leading our efforts as we've worked with a couple of partners to help us in a 2-year remediation plan to get 90% of our kids back to at least grade level. So you're going to hear about that. Andrew, why don't you share with folks what's happening and talk with Matt.
Great. Thanks, Jay, and thanks everybody for joining the call today. Like Jay mentioned, we want to highlight a particular partnership today and just express how thankful we are in that partnership, but as many partnerships that we have, and how important they are as we look at addressing the needs with neighbors on the Near East Side. And so I'd like to introduce to you Matt Wells from Purdue Northwest, as Jay already mentioned, but he's the Director of External Engagement and Partnerships for Purdue Northwest. And Purdue's been a partner of ours for a while now, but in a specific way in this last few months and going forward for the next couple of years, and I'm sure beyond that, but looking specifically at student learning recovery. And so we're grateful for their partnership. And as we think about how the state has emphasized learning recovery, and that's based on the fact that COVID had some significant interruptions in learning. And we're going to dive into that a little bit. You'll hear from Matt some. We'd love to have him share his expertise. And then you'll also hear some of what we're doing at Shepherd, and you'll hear from our different team members, because what's unique about Shepherd is that we have the opportunity to engage with a student not only in the school setting, not only in the early childhood setting, but in out of school time. So we have multiple opportunities to engage with a child and wraparound services with a family as well. And that's pretty unique, and we are excited about those opportunities, and we are walking alongside of kids and families in a lot of specific ways around education. So we'd like to be able to share a few of those with you today. We'll also have a time for some questions. If you think of a question, feel free to enter it in the chat at any time, and we'll be circling back on those questions towards the end. But Let me first start with Matt, and we appreciate you joining us here today, Matt. I'd love to just ask a few questions of you, and I guess one that would start would be, what are the challenges that you see facing education in the education world today? Could you share just briefly with us about that?
Absolutely, Andrew, and it's just a pleasure to join you today. I'd just like to start by saying the dean of our School of Education and Counseling unfortunately sends her regrets, but I will do my best to serve as a steward in her stead. But I think one of the most significant things that we have seen from an educational standpoint over the last 2 years, first off, we like to talk about opportunity loss versus learning loss. This is, kind of an evolving nomenclature, but, what we've seen in our part of the world, which is just outside of Chicago in the northwest corner of Indiana, predominantly the communities that we're surrounded by, a lot of low income, very diverse municipalities here in this part of the state. And what we've seen has broken down really along zip code lines. Many of the better resourced school districts that we see in our part of the state, one of which my son is enrolled in, has had an easier time, I think, responding to the disruption in the educational operation of K through 12 schools during the pandemic. But then there are just 20 minutes down the road school districts that were completely out of the classroom for 18 months solid, and within that small radius, the disparities in educational access and attainment are really stark. And so, I think one of the things that we have been most excited about in this growing partnership with Shepherd is the fact that, through technology, through some of these interdisciplinary collaborations between social work and education, psychology, even computer engineering, we've started to develop programs that we hope will help mitigate some of that opportunity loss. We don't know in many cases what kind of access these students had to the kinds of resources otherwise had they been in school physically. But we know that it's not good in a lot of cases. And so finding ways to deliver those services, and what we're working on right now, we'll talk more about, is this high dosage tutoring concept to help remediate and play a lot of catch up for some of these students who has been so significantly interrupted. So, I'm probably getting a little long-winded, but I think, as we continue to move through this COVID period and getting students back into the classroom, I think we're going to find that not only have we seen significant opportunity loss for their cognitive development, their I learn subjects, but also the social and emotional impacts and the trauma that has resulted from this widespread social and economic crisis. So I'll leave it at that, and we can.
Yeah. No, thank you. And I think, you really dove into the specifics there with the impact that COVID has had, which is critical over these last 18 months and really is driving pieces. We had actually started to implement parts of this remediation plan and have added to it as a result of the impact that COVID has had and how we approach things. And so I'd like to ask you a more general question and then followed by a specific question. But in your professional opinion, what is the most effective way to impact kids?
I think what we see certainly from our faculty working in early childhood education in middle grades, that really approaching the child as a whole person and attending to where they are in their developmental stage and in their life circumstances. It's really, I think in an era of increased standardization and emphasis on outcomes, it's easy to lose some of the human element of education, but I think that's that's truly the most important aspect as we continue to recover from this time period, is attending to the needs of the whole child. And there's unfortunately there's no way to do that without a village. There's and we've seen that, I think, particularly in vulnerable communities, that students that have experienced trauma, students that have experienced significant disruption to their learning, if they have a consistent, stable, caring adult educator who takes a genuine and consistent interest in their growth and development, even one person can make a significant difference to that student getting back on track or staying delayed. So, there are obviously numerous factors that are going to impact students' ability to thrive and recover from a setback. But I think the wraparound kind of approach that Shepherd and other youth serving organizations are working to implement with educational and non-academic partners remains a critical focus as we move forward.
Absolutely. I appreciate you touching on that relational aspect and how important those relationships are. As Jay mentioned earlier, that's really key to how we look at programming, and programs are an opportunity to build relationships and invite those positive adult relationships for kids to happen in the context of programs and in the context of school and out of school time. So definitely agree and see how important that is. You kind of again touched on this as well, but what else would you say is key for a place like Shepherd to be doing as it relates to education and as it relates to what we've been seeing as far as the opportunity loss that you mentioned?
Yeah, I think the consistency of having access to certain resources, kids do well, particularly in some of the formative developmental stages that, I know a large percentage of your students fall into. Having consistency of access to routines, to caring adults, to quality educational content. The last 18 months has been anything but consistent. Unfortunately, I think that's probably the understatement of the decade. But I think the more that youth serving organizations like Shepherd can help to provide some return to consistent, healthy habits, some semblance of normalcy, although that word has taken on, I think, a different meaning than it ever has before. But also, and as much as is feasible, resourcing families and caregivers and parents, with not only educational content, but also seeking to attend to the basic human needs. I mean, when you think about the fact that, kids are in school for a large period of the day, obviously, and have many of their basic needs met during that period, it's those hours after school and before school that can really make or break a student's progress along their educational continuum. So, I'd like to just, again, call out the fact that Shepherd is already doing all of this exceptionally well. And I'm very grateful for organizations like Shepherd and the way that they fill in those gaps that the schools, are not equipped and not resourced to provide.
We are very excited to continue our partnership together, and you touched on a couple of the things that we are working together on in these coming months and coming years around. We'll be learning from you and your team around professional development in some of the social emotional learning, trauma-informed care, as well as accelerated learning recovery. So the topics that you mentioned, we are thrilled to be able to partner and learn from your team and make accessible to our team. So we're thankful for your partnership. We're looking forward to that. And the high dosage tutoring is another area that we'll be engaging in and learning from your team of experts there. So Matt, thank you for sharing today. Thanks for the partnership. It's critical, and we appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. It's our pleasure, and we are grateful for your partnership.
Well, I'd like to take just a minute to share. Jay mentioned our 2-year plan and wanted to share a couple of bullet point updates of things that have been happening, and then ask a few members of our team to share a little bit more in depth about a few of those areas. So just to run through a few things that we've been looking at and things that we've been able to implement or are about to implement. And we've been thrilled, as Jay mentioned, Diana is on this call and we'll hear from her soon. But we've been able in this last year, about August, a year ago, open the Minnie Hartman Neighborhood Childcare and look at how important, and knowing how important early childhood education is. That's been a key part of this plan, to start those relationships early and build those relationships with family from that perspective. We've also, in our school setting, we have the academy that operates our K-4 through 5th grade on site at our East Washington location. And a few of the things that we've done in this past year have been, we've already looked at some curriculum updates, and Val leads her team through those of what else can we be looking at to enhance the learning opportunities. So we've done some curriculum updates and focused on the literacy component. We know how important that is, and Jay will be sharing a couple of areas later that we've honed in on from a literacy perspective. We've also trained our team of teachers in the Orton Gillingham phonics learning, which, if there's any educators on the call, you may be familiar with that, originally designed for special education and specifically dyslexia, but also very effective in teaching phonics learning from that perspective. We've also, through a particular grant, been able to enhance our social emotional learning through 2 different curriculum components that have really changed the culture of the school in a really positive direction, and we'll be building on that with Matt and his team as well. We've brought on a specific reading specialist, and we've also expanded our English language learning department and expanded that into looking at how to do that in out-of-school time as well. Again, one of the unique aspects of Shepherd and being able to work with students in that out-of-school time, after school and summer as well. We've also deepened our partnership with the library, the local library system, and the biggest way is that we've joined the library shared system and created a space on site that Jay's going to share a little bit more about later. We've also, speaking about that out of school time, we've been able to enhance that out of school time, and particularly our summer program this last summer through partnership with the United Way and the Mind Trust. And we had 6 licensed teachers who were leading students academically this summer, and just had some great results from that as we think about accelerated learning recovery. We are also in the process of expanding our college recruitment around that high dosage tutoring that Matt mentioned, and working with our local colleges around the recruitment for that tutoring and how important that will be. So I wanted to be able to share a few of those, and like I said, just ask some of our team to highlight a few of these. So Diana, I'd like to start with you, if you'd be willing to share, and just tell us about how early childhood learning plays a role in future success, and how do we plan learning time in the child care setting?
Yeah, I would love to share about that. Really dear to my heart of educating young kids from age 6 weeks, which we accept at age 6 weeks all the way up. And I truly believe Minnie Hartman builds foundations, like a foundational block for these children to be successful students as they get older. So that is our main purpose, is not only do the wraparound care of teaching them social skills, pre-academic skills, language skills, and life skills, we're teaching them how to become students too. from, the teachers will be reading to the infants. They're doing hands-on learning with the infants, and it just continues to build each year on the curriculum that we use. And then by the time they are ready to move on to kindergarten, they're already will be able to go into kindergarten with no problem at all, because they already have that building blocks that they need to be successful.
Thanks, Diana. And I think just how important sometimes, Jay touched on this, but it's been historically, I think people have seen it as childcare, and there's so much learning happening in those first 3 years of life, especially. We know those windows of opportunity that are so important and so difficult to reopen if they're missed. And so just appreciate you and your team leading in that way, Diana.
Thank you.
I'd love to have Val, could you share with us just a little bit how your team and the Academy is moving the needle, and specifically with the ELL, the English language learning, and the reading specialist, a couple of new expansions for us and how that's helping.
Yeah, so we not only added the reading specialist, but also we added a full-time academic tutor. And so along with our ELL teachers, that enables us to do great things in the classroom. Sometimes there are 3 to 4 adults in the classroom. So the ratio of teacher per student is quite low. And so that's allowing us to do really good things with our guided reading time. We have found that, our kindergartners have never experienced a normal year of school. So we've had to go back a little bit and teach some structures and some procedures. So that took us a little bit longer than usual, but we are rolling now. So yeah, the reading specialist has been instrumental in aligning what we do. So from kindergarten up through 5th, there are some things that we are doing the exact same way all through school. Again, it provides our kiddos a sense of security. They know what's coming and they know how to do things. And so they feel very comfortable in that. We're also we have some great data through our new curriculum. And so we're using that to regularly update our groupings and our levels. And so we're constantly adapting and changing our groups, which has proved very instrumental in moving kids up quickly. So that's that accelerated learning component.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I love the customized learning that can happen as a result of those resources in the Academy setting. Thanks, Val. Renee, I'd love to hear if you'd be willing to share with everybody about the out of school time and how you guys and your team is building on learning and after school and summer in some unique ways. Could you share with us?
Yeah, so I can speak specific to summer first. Like Andrew stated earlier, we partnered with the United Way and Mind Trust to provide a 5-week kind of intensive academic time for students that signed up for our Summer Excel program. Out of a 7-hour day that the kids are there, 3 of those hours were focused on academics. That is both reading and math. We had licensed teachers come in to all 6 of our classrooms and provided the curriculum and delivered the curriculum, and our staff that were in the classrooms kind of acted as teachers' aides. So they were able to walk around the classroom and make sure the kids were staying focused. So that helped quite a bit. We did see quite a large percentage of improvement in each subject, language, ELA and math, 31% improvement in ELA and a 30% improvement in math. So those are some really exciting numbers, and super excited to see those. Our kids worked really hard this summer. As much as they pushed, they did not want to do schoolwork in the summer. They did it, and they did awesome. We also did surveys to the families and the students, and obviously 100% of our families were in favor of having more academics in the summer, and 66% of the students were in favor of having more academics in the summer. So It went really well. We used a specific curriculum that came from New York. I'm not entirely sure of what the company is called, but if you would like to know, I can get that information to someone and we can push that out. Specific to after school, we do have daily homework time. The kids have a chance about an hour every day to work on their homework, and the staff in the rooms are able to help and assist in any way the kids need. And the tutor that Val talked about earlier is also available in after school.
Awesome. Thank you, Renee. You and your team just play such a critical role. And I think I wanted to specifically point out that summer, and if anyone on the call in the education world is familiar, summer is typically a time when our students and low-income students in general are experiencing significant learning loss. So when you touched on a couple of those percentages and significant percentages going up, just how incredible that is and how exciting that is, that there's not learning loss happening, there's learning improvement and learning achievement happening over the course of the summer. So thanks again to you and your team, and thanks for sharing today. I'd like to transition just for a second. I know Jay would love to share about a couple of specific literacy opportunities that we are really excited about.
Well, first of all, I'm excited to hear our team and my colleagues and the great job they're doing. From the summer learning, there were 39 groups, and we were third in the city in the scores, and so we were double what the average was. So great job for the team, and the great job that we do each and every day in our academy. And Minnie Hartman is the location, and it's the name of it's an old IPS school building. So we're excited for the way each one of those teams are impacting the lives of our kids. Two things. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Imagination Library. It's otherwise known as the Dolly Parton Book of the Month Club. And we are helping and growing this every week to every student or every child under the age of 5 in the 46201 and 46203 zip code. So we're over 250 now, and it keeps going up. It's going to take us, they figure, about 3 to 4 years to reach all of them, but we're paying to provide a book of the month. We know that many times just having a book in the home will increase the academic ability of that child. The book of Freakonomics that comes out of University of Chicago said if a child has 6 books in their house, they'll do academically better than other kids. And so we're trying to help start that at the earliest age. And so we're excited about the Imagination Library and being able to get those books into their homes. And each year, over the course of the next few years, that will increase as we pay to provide that for more kids. And then also, as Andrew said, in December, we'll be opening our library, which is connected to the Indianapolis-Marion County Public Library. And all of our families will get library cards, and anything that you could access at any library, branch library, you'll be able to access here. And so our families will be able to, and it's for the whole family, that they'll be able to order books to be shipped here. And so we have renovated space in our building and then bumped out the back of our building. And we're in the final weeks. I was in a meeting this morning at 7:30, which is one of our final construction meetings. And we're just waiting on supply chain. We got to get locks for the doors, and a couple light fixtures are on back order, but we're close. We've got books. I looked into the library space today, and we've got books coming in. Poverty many times is lack of access. It's not the lack of resource. We talked at 1:00 about hunger, and we know that in Indiana, there is plenty of food for everyone to eat, but it's having access to that. Well, it's the same way, and that we want to create access and give our kids the ability to access books and be able to have and explore all of that. As a kid many years ago, when dinosaurs walked the earth, I spend a lot of time reading, and maybe if you're like I am, I sometimes don't like watching the Lord of the Rings movies because it's not how when I read them many times as a kid, it's not how I pictured it. We want our kids to have their imagination pushed, and so we're excited about that. I'm going to turn it back to Andrew, and if you have any questions, I want you to be sure and ask, and we'll try to answer them. I think we have a couple over here.
Great. Well, if anyone else wants to enter a question into the chat, that would be great. We'll circle back on those in just a minute. And in the meantime, Phil is our our chief engagement officer. And Phil, could you share just a little bit with ways that folks could engage when they think about the education aspect and the education component of what we do?
Absolutely, Andrew. And I just want to echo what we've heard on the call. And one thing that stuck with me is this: education creates access for our students to explore and to grow. And we know that's a reality for our students. In order to break the cycle of poverty, is that there will be access for them to explore and to grow. And so we have a number of opportunities and ways that you as volunteers can engage with our students. And I'll just go down my short list here. We're looking for volunteers to help in the kitchen. And these are ways that in order to provide or at least share the meals when kids are ready to have their lunchtime, we need folks to interact with our kids as they are serving meals to our students. As you've heard, we have a new library, and we're looking for volunteers to help us really strengthen our efforts in that regard. We're looking for tutors, and we also heard today how important it is for volunteers to come alongside of students when they're out of school. So during the after-school hours of 3:30 to 5, we were looking for folks to come alongside to read to students, to help them with homework. And we were also looking for mentors for our students, pre-K through 5th grade, as well as all the way up to college. We have our middle and high school students, and of course our college students who are in school for the first time, for the first year of their semester of college. It's a challenge for them, first generational students. And so they hit the fan sometime. They have challenges, and we need folks to be able to encourage them on to greater things. So if you are interested in any of these opportunities, please reach out to us. And here's how you do that. You can call our office, and that number is 317-375-0203, or you could reach out to our volunteer director, Donna Alexander, and you can reach out to her through email. And her email address is donna@shepherdcommunity.org. That's Donna, A as in Apple, at shepherdcommunity.org. And we appreciate your partnership, and we look forward to answering any questions you have about these service opportunities. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Phil. Diana Hunter, thank you for the resource that you put in the chat around Orton Gillingham. And we will we'll be looking for that resource. Thanks for reaching out about that. All right. Well, you have in the chat as well a link to the volunteering as well as the contact information. And if there's any other questions, you can feel free to reach out. And Jay, I'll turn it back to you to close us out.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time today. Appreciate our team. We're blessed with great folks who are serving each and every day as we are trying to move the needle in education. And we do that in partnerships. Again, a common theme that you're going to hear is that we're doing this together with our neighbors, and we're doing this together with other organizations so that we can focus on the relationship and bring in some expertise, whether it's Purdue, whether it's University of Indianapolis, some others who are working particularly in this arena. Every child in Marion County is going to be mentored. The question's by who? And we want to invest in their lives. And we encourage you to join with us. If you're interested in helping us continue to expand the Imagination Library, that next year we project to be about a $10,000 cost to cover the cost of the books. We're continuing to work. We were blessed to receive some grants that helped us get the reading specialist and the ELL teachers. I'll get that right eventually. They keep changing. So ELL teachers, and continuing to try to bring all kinds of services. As this is with education, there's not one strategy that's going to move the needle completely. We need to be having multiple strategies, multiple inputs in the lives of the kids. We're also continuing to work as we get into already looking into the summer months, where we do a lot of fundraising to help pay for some of the things that we do through the summer with the kids. And yes, they were just thrilled to have additional classwork through the summer. And Renee and her team did a great job to convincing them that they're going to like it. And I don't know if they ever liked it, but we moved the needle, and so great job. And if you ever want to see enthusiasm at Mini Hartman, when you go in and see all those little ones running around, and we can worry about COVID and we can worry about all of these life issues, they're just having fun. And maybe we need to be more like those little ones. And I'm also blessed when I go out in the hallway and see our students in the academy and they're walking someplace. And I heard them today, they had a choice. They could catch their bubble. They could, I forget what the other term was. And I think my wife's probably going to try and start having me catch my bubble more at home. And maybe I won't get in as much trouble. Well, thank you each for listening. Hey, we're on the road to recovery. Won't you join us?
Jay, we do have one question. I don't know if it's for you or for Andrew, but from Liz Odell, I would like to help with the library development. And the question is, I wonder if you are building home libraries. Could you or Andrew answer that?
We'll let Valerie.
Or Val, yes. Thanks.
So in the academy, we are sending a book home every week, kind of like the Imagination Library. So it's kind of close to their level. So yes, that is something that we still continue to do every week. Every child gets a book.
Yes, we want them to have them and be able to explore. So thank you everyone for your time. We'll be at this again tomorrow, 9:00. We'll be talking about health issues. 1:00, we'll be talking about neighborhood engagement as we're trying to deal with the epidemic of loneliness. And 4:30, our jobs pipeline. They're all together. The team's all working together so that we can help break the cycle of poverty. We want to build capacity so that we can reduce dependence. Have a great night.